Hey, this is Chuck Van Sickle with Gloves Off, and today we're going to be talking with Dan Overly and Nick Little about product launches. And we're going to be talking about all sides of the product launch, the internal product launch and the scope and mechanism behind that, as well as the marketing materials that you might want to create as part of that. So I'll let Nick and Dan kind of introduce themselves, and we can get started.
Yeah, hi, Dan Oberly here with Sudden Impact, and this topic's important to me because I spent 30 plus years at a company that was a customer of Sudden Impact's, and product launches was a topic that was really important in terms of the way we approached it and the way we executed it, going from average to above average, and really the focus there was our internal audience, and that's what we want to talk about today, I believe, is why that's important and why it's necessary to really get everyone on board to believe in the product before you start showing it to customers.
Yeah, and I'm Nick Little. I'm an account manager, and I've been fortunate to work on a few of these product launches, both internal and external. So hopefully I can add a little color and provide some input from kind of the getting it done aspect.
Cool. So, we typically talk about things, especially on this podcast, from the marketing perspective, but it's important to have the product side or the internal client side of the thing, of a product launch, the thing, in order. So, Dan, what does the scope of something like that look like, and what can marketers, what can our clients do to work with their product team to make sure that they're ready to go?
Yeah, I think the issue here is large, complex organizations. The audience inside of a company is tasked with lots of products to deal with. And when you're a product manager or a product group trying to get your product out there front and center and get the attention, not only are you fighting for time and mind share in the market space, but you're also fighting for your own internal mind share. And so making it relevant to them, making it relevant to their customers is what you want to convince salespeople inside of a company, and product people, project people, service people, all sorts of people need to be convinced so that they go then tell the market about that product. That's really the mission here inside these large, complex companies.
So you want to make sure. So it's important. What we're saying is it's important for the overall success of a product launch to start internally and make sure that everybody's in alignment and on board with that product launch and understands what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, people won't sell a product, service a product, or deliver a product unless they believe in it. And if inside of a company they don't believe in it from those levels and for those points of views, then it'll never find its way to the customer.
Right. You can make all the data sheets in the world, and it's not going to matter.
Right.
And, for marketers, we like to think about the external product launch because that's the fun part. That's kind of the sexy part. But you can do all the external product launch you want. But if your salespeople aren't bought in, ready to sell, have the available tools they need to sell appropriately, then what's it for?
Right. And in a lot of the programs we're involved with, people are really interested in generating leads and sales right out of the gate. So, the setup or the pre-marketing launch is important to ensure that thing can happen.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's dive into a little bit of specifics. What does the scope of where do you start internally with the scope of a product launch? And that's Either
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, it starts first with the product manager. You have to develop a relationship with that product manager to understand what they've done to date and what they haven't done. Mm-hmm. And a few important things to think of are what's the business plan for the product, what's been done to date, what's happening in the marketplace, what's the competitors doing. Is this a Me Too product or a brand new product? That will really change how you would sell it. How you would get people excited for it. And then from there, it's thinking about how you arm the sales organization for success. Does the market care about data, the X's and O's? How does this work? Or are they more high level? Do they need information on how to sell this product? Is a sales tips and tactics document going to be helpful? And then you really just fill gaps based on what the organization needs, and you go from there. And that's all still external facing documentation.
Right. So it looks a lot like what you would do for external communications, because it is the same. It's the same message. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to get out a consistent message to everybody involved in the sales process of these new products.
I mean, it's going to be tailored though towards internal language and internal information. So there's some documents can be used externally, and some are just for kind of strategy and tactics relative to the product that you don't want competitors to see, or even your own customers.
So that's a good point. So it's not quite as, I hesitate to use the word fluffy or marketing-y. These documents are more technical and more specific to the product, and for technical people possibly that so they can understand how things work.
Yeah, and it's also competitive research is to make yourself able to compete better, and you don't want your battle cards that are lined out to basically compete in the battlefield against competitors is something you want to keep internal.
Sure. So, Nick, you mentioned a few of the people involved. So, are there any other folks, like, obviously the product management team leads that. That's their piece of the business to make successful. Who are some of the other folks that, a marketer, and maybe it's a client that's new in the Marcom department and hasn't worked with product people. So who are some of the other folks that they could track down and learn about?
I would say there's kind of three pillars. It's the product people, the marketing people, and then the sales people. So you would look to see who are your stakeholders. In a big company, there's going to be probably a team of Marcom folks who would be responsible for the product. There's going to be a team of salespeople. So it's getting in with those folks, understanding their involvement, what's going to make them successful with the product, what's going to make their customers successful with the product. And it's really figuring out that relationship from product manager through sales. So it's sometimes difficult.
For sure.
If you get in with the wrong person, I don't want to say the wrong person, but if you get in, at the wrong level, you then have to backtrack down to make sure you get it to everybody.
Sure. So that's actually a good thread there. So what are some other things, Dan, that you in your experience have, those stop gaps, those hurdles, those things that can send an internal product launch careening?
Lack of use cases, lack of studies that have been shown that the product is, pilots have been done, results have been found, that it's been scrubbed and fully baked. And, the biggest skeptics are our own internal people.
Sure.
And if you can pass that test, then the market's ready, and the customers, usually won't be as scrutinous or diligent as our own people.
So, what are the steps, or what are some components that people can do to ensure that people aren't skeptical?
Well, make those people part of the launch. Make them part of the team. Elements of a launch in terms of telling the story involves, features and specifications, obviously, and benefits of the product. But if you can include those very people, sales, service, and projects people, as part of that launch, sales saying how it could be used to go win orders, service saying how it satisfies the customers and how we can generate ongoing life cycle business, and then project to basically give that credibility that it's ready to go, that all the things they care about, that the documentation is ready, the installation guides, the startup manuals, all those things that makes their life effective and their job easier is ready with the product. All those things go and contribute, and they should be part of the launch. Those people can be on the show, so to speak.
Yeah. And in the show, listen, we all know that, like in marketing, everybody's tactics are going to be different. Everybody's mix of tactics are going to be different. But what are some of the things that could be in the show? Like, what does that look like? Is there an event? Do we all gather in the conference room, seems like some of our bigger, large clients are global. So there's that complexity. So there's a good deal of complexity in just getting this internal message communicated.
Yeah, and really getting the stakeholders engaged is the most important piece. So, sending things over through email only won't be effective. We've found a lot of times that an event of some sort, whether it be a webinar, a lunch and learn, whatever that may be, that event is important.
A podcast.
Exactly.
Right?
Never heard of those.
So it's important to get those people engaged live, talking to your stakeholders, like Dan just mentioned. So that's key. And there's, a lot of ways to go about getting that done. And global geography is a big piece of that. So you have to think about where are these people? What time is it for them? When will they be most engaged? What holidays do we have to work with?
Right.
All of that comes into play when you think about engaging your audience.
Right, and just to add to that, you definitely want to schedule it for a 1 week period. If you do have a global audience, you want to give multiple times, 3 or 4 times that you do this live, and you want to record it.
Sure.
So you want to make it available after the event. But if you drive traffic to multiple events in the week of a launch, we found that to be the most effective, and to offer it at all different time zones.
Nice.
So sometimes that means those of the people that are doing the launch might be doing it at 1 a.m.
Sure.
To satisfy the time zone in Singapore.
Yeah.
But that's what has to be done.
Yeah. And in these days, that's pretty easy to do. We're all like Zooming and Teamsing and WebExing. So it's not hard to do that. And I would suspect that, having the recorded version, again, not unlike we would do for an external communication or a marketing program to the external audience. Some people want to be on the live and ask questions and be able to get them answered right away. And some people, like me, just sign up for all these and then wait till the replay comes out, because I just rather watch it on my own time.
Yeah, but there's a ton of value in recording it. The live version gives those folks the ability to ask questions and talk with the experts. That will drive them to buying in a lot more than just having them listen to a recording, which is an option. But those folks who do want the recording, that's just how they work.
Right.
So they can listen to it in their own time, at their own pace. Those questions will be documented on there. Maybe they have some of the same. So it's doing both is a nice 1-2 punch.
And then as far as those interactions go, is there any tips or, it seems like you would want to make sure you had the subject matter experts available and kind of queued up and ready to answer questions. Is that how that works, or is there any
Yeah, we encourage questions. I mean, the challenge in the environment of giving one of these launches be online is that interaction. It's silent on the other end,
Right.
and you're trying to get engaged with the audience. So that's back to how do you make it engaging, which we can talk about more. But asking the questions and having them input questions to the chat window. It's always a good practice to have your own questions ready, because it might introduce more questions.
For sure.
So if people are not thinking of a question or not wanting to put their name in the chat window, have your own ones queued up. And sometimes if the audience is small, just release the mute button and let people talk.
Yeah.
If it's over 20 or 30 people, that can be difficult, but sometimes if it's small, that's another way just to do it ad hoc that way.
Yeah. So you mentioned ways to engage. That's where sudden impact can come in and help. You actually can create a campaign or a theme or some elements to create engagement and make it just like you would make an external campaign. So I think that's some place where we could kind of come in and help.
Yeah, and we've done that. You could have some sort of incentive to attend. You want to make it fun. You want to make it interesting. You could have a contest after the launch to engage the audience. Salespeople are competitive.
Sure.
So come and listen to this, and you will be entered into a drawing or
Right.
whatever it takes, just like you would do to attract a call to action to attract clients, and that's an important element for sure.
Yeah, in pre-event, pre-launch communications to kind of build up to it. You could start those like super early. Even when you started the program, you could announce the timing of the launch. I know they get pushed back sometimes, and there's things like that going on. So just having that constant communication.
Yeah, and in this case, the internal customer is no different from your external customer. You have to get them excited. You have to
Sure.
warn them with enough time for them to move their schedule. So things like emailing in advance, posting on social networks. Maybe there's internal social networks that you're using. You can post it there. Using your stakeholders' voice and their relationships to get the message out. It's extremely important as well.
And yeah,
We have
a
we have a lion loose in the building, so
classic.
we can keep going.
Yeah, for sure. Because we're kind of getting about ready to wrap up. We almost made it. So it sounds like if I'm summarizing correctly.
Well, one of the things I think we want to make sure is that Sudden Impact has a phone team, an engagement team.
Yeah.
And one of the uses, we often think of them as telemarketing or going out and prospecting, generating leads. But one of the real valuable uses of them is to go create the awareness of the campaign and to get buy-in for the targeted audience. That's obviously important with your customers when you launch, but internally it's very effective. We've seen the attendance rates double or triple based on our phone team's engagement to remind them of the call and to get them to register for the call. And so getting that live audience is really important, and using our phone team to call everybody that's potential. And sometimes the scope of the audience could be 500 to 1,000 people
Sure.
for just an internal launch.
Yeah.
So you want to really reach out beyond just emails.
Sure, absolutely. Easily the scale of a decent sized account based marketing program, actually.
Yeah.
So again, it's using the same tactics you would use for external go to market type campaign for your internal campaigns, and planning for those things is as just exactly like you would planning ahead, warming up the audience, and bringing them into a high value asset. So a high
Exactly.
value an event. So it's just kind of the exact same tactics we might use to drive sales for that product after the launch.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That kind of there we go. So we kind of
Full circle.
Kind of come full circle. So, so if anyone is interested in finding out a little bit more about how we have approached product launches with our clients, in any size client, big, large, complex organizations with technical products, or small startups who are launching their first product, we've kind of helped those folks put those things together. You could give us a call at Sudden Impact, and Dan and Nick in the creative gang could put together a program for them, and we could make that launch successful.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Chuck.
You bet.